Now, I'm here at the Emirates Airline Festival of Literature, and I have the opportunity to interview some incredible authors, one of which is Wendy Holden. Really, somebody should be writing your life story, shouldn't they? I mean, with your sort of career and everything. Do you think that will ever happen one day? Welcome back to this week's episode of Karen's Bookshelf. Now, I'm here at the Emirates Airline Festival of Literature, and I have the opportunity to interview some incredible authors, one of which is Wendy Holden. Wendy, thank you so much for joining me here today. Your career is impressive, to say the very least. Now, you're here at the Emirates Airline Festival of Literature to talk about this book, which you've done as a biographer, A Woman of Firsts, and that's really sort of your background in writing books, isn't it? Writing about very powerful and inspirational women. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I've written a lot of books, different books, and some of them have been celebrity biographies. I wrote 3 books with the actress Goldie Hawn. I wrote Barbara Sinatra's biography, Frank's widow. She was an amazing woman. But mostly I focus lately on people who live in conflict zones or who have lived through the Second World War in particular.
Yeah.
And it's something that appeals to me because I have a history of war in my work and also in my parents' life. So I feel that in many ways, my whole life led me to writing about these remarkable women.
Yeah, and this is your book as well, isn't it? Born Survivors.
Yes.
3 young mothers and their extraordinary story of courage, defiance and hope. So if you haven't read it, thoroughly recommend it. I think it's so incredible what you do, and you were a journalist before this. How has that transition happened? And because it's quite a different skill set, really, isn't it? Writing for a publication compared to, 80,000, 90,000 words.
In a funny sort of way, it isn't. And you interview somebody about their life for journalism and you put it down in a readable form. It's 1,000 words. What you do with this is have much more time. You can really do the background research. You can speak to them for a great deal longer. You can get to know them much more. And you make it a 100,000 word book. So it's just expanding what I've been doing all my life as a journalist and taking it this way. The transition really happened because I was a foreign and war correspondent. I was 5 years in the Middle East. I was the longest serving reporter in Baghdad during the first Gulf War. And I wanted to stay alive and I wanted to stay married. So I thought it'd be a good idea if I started to stay home a bit more and write books, which is actually what I had always wanted to do. And journalism was meant to be a temporary stopgap, but it ended up becoming a full-time career. And I still do a little bit of journalism. I still feel that I'm a journalist at heart.
Yeah. And I mean, really, somebody should be writing your life story, shouldn't they? I mean, with your sort of career and everything. Do you think that will ever happen one day?
I did write a novel called The Sense of Paper, and it was semi-autobiographical. I didn't intend it to be, but it is about a former war correspondent who retires to the countryside to write a book. So there's something of me in there, I suppose. I think, generally speaking, as a journalist, you're trained not to put yourself in the picture. You're reporting, hopefully dispassionately and without prejudice, on all the cases that you're being sent to report about, and I just think that to then have me in the picture doesn't sit comfortably with me, and I wouldn't want it.
Yeah. When I was 16, I wanted to be a war reporter and changed my mind within 3 months. But for viewers watching who may think I want to be a journalist, I want to be a biographer, an author, what advice would you give them? What's the best?
Don't.
Don't.
Because the world's become a very frightening place now. I mean, it was frightening then too, but no, that's not true. I would not have not done it for the world. It was the most extraordinary time, but it seems more glamorous than it is. And although when you're there and you're in the middle of it and bullets are flying or bombs are falling, you are caught up in the adrenaline of it all, there are repercussions. And one of the reasons I gave up journalism, full-time journalism, to write books was because I did get PTSD. And I do have nightmares. I've broken my husband's ribs twice in the night. And we actually have ropes across the top of the stairs to stop me throwing myself down the stairs anymore.
So serious consideration.
Yes, it is a serious consideration.
As a job.
But I also feel that it empowered me in lots of ways. It makes me incredibly compassionate. It makes me very, have great empathy for anybody who's ever lived through a conflict situation. And I think, as I said, because I write a lot about women in war now, it's placed me perfectly to really write about it almost from an insider point of view.
Amazing. So what's your next project? What are you working on?
I have another war book to write. It's based in Warsaw in 1939, and it's about that story and how the resistance did extraordinary things there. When the Nazis took over Europe, really the people of Warsaw were the ones that really defied them immediately and said, no, we're not having this. And of course, they paid the ultimate cost, and it's a very extraordinary story. I spend a lot of time in Poland anyway. And it's an amazing story. And again, it's a strong woman at the core of the story. And it's about her determination to do the right thing, even though it cost her very dearly.
Incredible. Well, I can't wait to read it. Wendy, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your incredible stories.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing what you do. This is wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again next week on Karen's Bookshelf.